Today is our last breakfast before school's out for summer, and we've had a lot of great speakers this year. I recognize a lot of faces that joined us earlier on, but you will recall that we had Kelly Lindquist, class of 1971, who was our alum of the year, who is now the executive director of ArtSpace. Alan Page was here to talk about his experience on the Supreme Court bench and his support of underprivileged youth. We had Fritz Corrigan speak this year about his experiences at Cargill and Mosaic and their mission to literally feed the world. And Nina Hale told us how her company places those advertisements in Google and Facebook that always make us say, how in the world did they know I wanted a vacation to Tahiti? So, well, today we have the opportunity to hear from Blake alum David Mortenson, current parent and president of Mortenson Construction. After graduating from Blake in 1984, David attended Colgate University in upstate New York. And while back east, his Blake friend and classmate Becky Gillette introduced him to his future wife, Kate, who now sits on Blake's board of trustees. Kate is here today with their 3 kids who all attend Blake. Jack is an 11th grader, Nora is in 10th grade, Charlie is in 7th grade. I got that right? Okay. Now you guys, there is a quote in your father's yearbook on the senior page. You should be prepared to hear the same thing. Hey Mort, can your dad give me a job? David and his company have offices in Denver, Seattle, San Antonio, Toronto, Northern Ireland, and Shanghai, to name a few. They also have a hole in the ground over in Minneapolis that I think some of us are interested in hearing about. So today, to talk with us about the 21st century engineering, design, and construction, a sneak peek at the Vikings Stadium is Blake's own David Mortenson.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do you need water or anything? You good?
I'm pretty good.
Signal me if you need.
All right.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Do we need both? I think we do.
Okay. Great. So I graduated from Blake in 1984, and as I was preparing for today, I was thinking, well, so what are the 2 or 3 things that I'm most thankful for that Blake gave me? And I put them into 3 buckets. One, this incredible love of learning, this, especially in an engineering world, a ability to communicate, and then thirdly, my wife. Not in this order, of course. But I think in a world that's changing so fast, when I am hiring people and out on college campuses and we do some preliminary testing, the first thing that I look at for a new grad is their learning index. The world changes too fast to finish a technical training and think that's the end of your training process. It's actually just the beginning. So this ability to be a lifelong learner, I believe, is super important in today's world. And then 2, there are not very many engineers that communicate well, and those that can accelerate quickly through the ranks. So thank you, Blake. I'm going to do 3 things today. One, give you a little bit of an overview of the company and the Vikings Stadium, talk about changes in the industry, and then 3, talk about our image problem. That's not a personal problem, but hopefully anyway. So I have the great privilege of being in a family business. I'm 3rd generation. My grandfather started the business 60 years ago. We've always just had one very simple mission, and that's to create an exceptional experience for our customers. Sometimes that means they need a facility that is as cost competitive as anything in the marketplace. Sometimes that means they need our specific expertise. But what we're trying to do is make sure when we finish a project, they believe they've had a far superior experience. That's always founded on a culture that's based on our values of, and the two that I'd highlight are really built around service and teamwork. And in the construction business, while I think we often get the accolades because we're at the center of a big job like the Vikings, design and construction is the ultimate team game. Engineers, subcontractors, suppliers, we'll have over 2,500 individuals working on that job site at any one time, over 65 different companies, all coming together to accomplish one goal, and that's, well, not just one goal, but the primary goal, which is finish in July of 2016. As Woody said, we've got a large geographic diversity, mostly in the western United States, Seattle, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, along with the Midwest, Minneapolis, Chicago, and Milwaukee. Our primary markets, and many people don't realize this because we get known for the Vikings Stadium, but we're actually the largest builder of wind energy in North America. We started in 1994 when a small Danish company came to us and asked us to install a test turbine. That was Vestas, who's now the world's largest manufacturer of turbines. In 1994, that turbine produced 150 kilowatts. Today, we install turbines that produce 3,000 kilowatts. And forgive me, because I'm an engineer, I'm going to geek out on stats all day long. We are also one of the largest engineer, procure, and construct companies in the solar market. We're currently building the world's largest solar facility north of LA, 600 megawatts. So 600 megawatts takes 2.5 million solar panels spread across 4,000 acres. And both in the wind industry and in the solar industry, the cost of producing renewable energy has been declining so fast that it continues to expand quite rapidly. And when people ask me about the subsidies, especially in the wind industry, the industry would like Washington to actually have a sliding scale to no subsidy. This pass a subsidy, don't pass the subsidy, pass a subsidy, don't pass the subsidy is very difficult for the industry to predict. And we don't need it anymore. There is enough demand in the marketplace for renewable energy that the federal tax breaks don't need to be there in order to continue to have those industries grow. Healthcare, education, other big, we're going to talk about sports today. We do a lot of data centers and mission critical work, cultural facilities, whether it's the convention center or the renovation of the state capitol, and then infrastructure and a broad range of infrastructure, everything from high voltage transmission to water and wastewater. But let's get on with the reason most of you are here, and that's really to talk about the Vikings Stadium and sports. Our first sports project was Target Center back in the early 80s. We'd never done a sports facility before that job, and that really launched an entire new market for us. Today we're the second largest builder of sports facilities in America. We've done over 150 projects on college campuses and in cities. We were actually just selected yesterday to build the new Atlanta Braves baseball stadium. These are some of the most fun projects that we get a chance to do. So the Minnesota Multipurpose Stadium, at one time called the People's Stadium, the ownership and structure here is, this is a public-private partnership because the city of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, and the Vikings have all pooled money in just over $1 billion in order to build this state-of-the-art 21st century facility. 1.7 million square feet, the construction contract just over $750 million right now, 65,000 seats, actually over 8,000 club seats, and this will be the largest ETFE roof in the world. So what's ETFE? If you remember the Beijing Olympics and where they had the swimming pool and that plastic bubble, ETFE was the plastic on the outside of this. So it is actually a translucent plastic that will cover about half of the roof and allow light in. So it's meant to make the stadium feel like a retractable roof stadium when the sun's shining. That and these large wall panels that I'll get a chance to show you in a little bit. So just take a look at what this stadium is compared to the old Metrodome. The old Metrodome here and the new stadium, you're talking almost 4 times the volume. So I'll give you a little preview fly through here of what it looks like. You get a sense for that ETFE roof from that above picture. There are actually 8 different club rooms and restaurants within the facility, and these are a couple, and now this is what a standard suite would look like. And if you were worried that the tractor pulls weren't going to be around anymore with the sunsetting of the Metrodome, don't worry. My favorite thing about watching these promotional videos is in the background is always AP running through the Green Bay Packer defensive line. So this is a very unique stadium. Most cities you go to, stadium's going to be very symmetrical. It's going to be kind of an oblong shape without very much aesthetic or architectural significance, and that is very different here. This facility is actually designed to make a architectural statement. Now, I don't know, I'm an engineer, so I don't know all of the aesthetic creativity that goes into inventing the vision for something like this, but apparently the architects say that it all started with a trip to the Mississippi River and seeing ice forming. I'm not sure I buy that, but there are some dimensional consistencies. Not only is this the new Vikings home, but it's a multi-purpose venue. We actually, the city of Minneapolis, the University of Minnesota last week submitted their application to bring the Final Four to Minneapolis. So this facility is also designed to host a Final Four, and we're hoping that either in 2019 or 2020, Minneapolis would be host to one of the great college sporting events in the country. So before you start construction, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it takes to build this building. But before you start, you actually have to demolish. And so, and in this case, deflate. That was the fastest. Over 800,000 cubic yards of material have been removed from the site. That actually equates to 80,000 truckloads. We removed all of this at night so we wouldn't disturb traffic flows in the city, so most of you probably really didn't notice. And as we were taking down the Metrodome, as you can see, we already started construction on the east side of the site, and we'll work from east to west. A couple demo facts: 80% of everything in the Metrodome got recycled. That includes the cables, the seats, and the concrete. The concrete actually all gets ground up and used for underlayment, Class 5 materials under roads. But let me juxtapose a little bit of what building the Metrodome might have looked like compared to what building the new Vikings Stadium looks like today, and what that means in terms of building in the 21st century. These are a few pictures from the Metrodome building, but one thing you won't see on our job site today is a plan. You won't see any drawings. If you walk into our trailer, there are no drawings, because everything we do today is actually being built from a computer model. And we actually go through a process that we've termed virtual design and construction. So we actually build the building before we ever step foot on the job site. And these are just a couple sections of the model that we're using even today, every day, to plan how this facility is going to be constructed. And the models are so realistic today, it's hard sometimes to tell whether you're looking at a model or what might actually be the real facility. You see here this super truss in red that will hold the roof up. That super truss is 1,000 feet long. It's over 3 football fields long, and I'll geek out on a few more stats about how we're going to erect it a little later. So we started demolition in January. Steel erection starts in August. We actually think we'll start in July right now. And we finish erection about 14 months later, and we deliver this facility complete in July of 2016. This will actually be the fastest construction of a roofed NFL football stadium built anywhere in North America. And one of the reasons that we're able to do that is these new technology tools. So once we build the 3D model, we then break it down into segments and add a fourth dimension, which is really time. So I'll walk you through real quickly what that's going to look like. So this is starting in January of this year, and you'll see as we go through the demolition of the Metrodome and the construction of the main facility. We're reviewing these models with our suppliers and subcontractors at least once a week to make sure we've got the sequence right and that we're planning now. I'm going to try and stop this right about where we are today. So you can see down at the bottom there, we're right about, oh, sorry about that. I'll try and stop it at May. Well, while I'm doing that, take out your phones and go to Google and type in Vikings Stadium webcam. And see if you can pull up a webcam. If you can't get the video, the live webcam, go to the aerial because that'll be a still photo. So this is, I don't know if anybody got the webcam up? Okay, so this is actually last week. If you look at your webcam picture, and I'm going to pull mine up here on my iPad real quickly. So actually, we've got 4 cranes up now. Construction's actually already proceeding through here. So you can see we're actually constantly comparing where we are today to actually the plan we put in place about 6 months ago. So I can, from my office, actually pull up our 4-dimensional schedule, look at a webcam, and call the project manager and wonder why he's not pouring the main concourse deck. And so without these two, we finished the Twin Stadium almost 3 months early because not only is this a great planning tool, it also is allowing us to take more and more components off-site in sub-assemblies. And I'm going to pause here again. You'll see now the erection of the super truss. This crane is one of the 10 largest cranes, mobile cranes available in the world. It actually arrives to the job site in 78 semi-truckloads. In fact, right now today, there's not a crane on the job site large enough even to erect that crane. The counterweight is over 1 million pounds. And so when we erect it, it actually happens in pieces, and you'll see how the pieces come together and get temporarily shored. So those temporary shores that are in light blue are actually 24 to 27 story small buildings that will hold that super truss until we've got it braced to the outer ring beam. And this is what really makes both the shape and the construction of this facility like no other in the U.S. Should have put some music to this. Yeah, so these are dates along the bottom. Just like when I stopped it back there in May and we looked at the webcam to compare where we were, this is now March of next year. And by October of next year, we'll have the entire structure complete. We moved from east to west this whole time, so as soon as we get some roof on the eastern portion of this building, we'll be putting drywall and finishes in the suites. We don't have time to finish the entire roof and then do the interior construction, so as soon as we've got some dried in space, we'll actually start the interior suites. So one of the things I talked about too was just this idea of prefabrication. Our industry is now able to take these tools, break them down into small components, and do off-site sub-assemblies. And we'll do this with lots of the components in the suites like we do in hospitals. In hospitals, we are now building corridor racks with the HVAC ductwork, the cable tray, the sprinklers, all off-site. We're bringing them in a cart, 40-foot chunks, and installing them all at one time. We're doing that with bathrooms also in most hospital and hospitality construction, where in this project, 466 bathrooms built off-site, delivered to the job site just in time. And that's one of the big changes that are happening in the industry that's allowing us to actually build faster, more cost effectively, and with higher quality. Huge change in the industry. And then I'd say technology, prefabrication, off-site assembly, the adoption of manufacturing principles, and then also this idea of community outreach and trying to draw a broader reach of both subcontractors and suppliers and craft workers to our job sites are big parts of what we're trying to do within the industry to prepare us for the next decade. So the Minnesota Vikings Stadium project will have a goal of 20% minority and women business enterprise participating in the job, and craft level workforce of 32% minority and 6% female. And that will be the highest goals ever achieved of any project in the state of Minnesota. So I'm going to open it up for questions, but you might be thinking, so what's this image problem that you were talking about? I got the Vikings Stadium, I got the industry change, but it's very interesting. If you went out and surveyed, and Ann, you could do this, survey your high schoolers and said, how many of you are planning a career in construction, there might just be only 2. And I recently read a study of graduates from Ivy League schools, and they were asked a question of, what are the most important occupations to go into? And they had 3 answers. They said, finance, 2, some nonprofit work, or 3, some technology startup. Those were the 3 answers. Nobody said building stuff. Nobody said manufacturing, nobody said construction, nobody said engineering. And that's essentially, I think, part of the image problem we have both in the construction business, but also broadly across engineering, because most of the things that we buy and live with every day take engineers. And so if you do anything today, go home and talk to your children and grandchildren about how cool construction is, and that a career in engineering would be a really great thing. And with that, I'll open it up to Q&A.
So can you talk a little bit about what it's like to put together the bid and bringing in all the resources, how long it takes, what's your investment just in bidding the project, and then what happens if you're wrong?
Right. So the question was, what's it like to put together the bid for a project like this, or the cost estimate? And something this large and complex, it's a 3-month effort. And we are assembling bids and pricing not just for the work that we perform, but all the subcontracted work. We're taking oftentimes what are preliminary design documents and having to fill in the blanks of what it's actually going to take to be able to finish the project. It's an enormous task with lots of risk, because we provide a guaranteed maximum price. If we're wrong, it comes out of our pocket. Now, usually we're carrying some level of contingency, both for escalation and for some parts of the work that we don't even, like the video boards, not even designed yet because the technology changes so fast. So some of those pieces we'll carry a contingency and an allowance, and we'll actually procure it later.
A couple years ago, we had Christine Shepherd talk about glass and how to prevent birds from hitting glass. So two questions. One, what are your glass and bird encounter plans? And then the second one, you talked about minority and women and the idea about trading. It does pay well, it has benefits, et cetera. What can we do to help more people think that that's a viable career?
Okay, well, I'm going to answer the second question first because just about how do we build the trades and the craft level workforce in our industry. Because right now today, the average union carpenter in the Twin Cities age is 52. And so we're going to watch a complete turnover of that expertise walk out the door over the next 5 to 10 years. And we need to be actively engaged in broadening the base of people coming into the craft workforce. Because if you're a carpenter on a job, you're going to make $60,000 to $100,000 with some overtime. And great medical benefits. And so we're actively now, in conjunction with training programs like Summit Academy, reaching out to a very broad base to try and attract more people into the craft workforce. It's part of why we're also focused on trying to do more off-site subassembly. We're going to be in a labor shortage in the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be pretty extreme. And then what was the first part of your question? Oh, glass and birds. We're studying that right now. We've actually engaged a number of experts because, as you can see, we've got large panels of glass and glazing to figure out how we're going to keep birds from running into it. We don't have all those answers yet.
You also bring soccer to the not you, but I mean, soccer going to be another venue.
Soccer, this has been designed so it could be the home to a Major League Soccer franchise. I believe the Wilfs, when they put their money in, also got the rights for the Major League Soccer franchise. Now, they only have those rights for a limited number of years. There has not been a lot of talk of what that looks like and what the timing for that might be.
Just curious, how much slack time do you need to schedule for this?
How much slack time is built in? Well, if you drive by every day, there's not a day, no matter what the weather or what the temperature, where we're not actively engaged. I'd say less than 1%. You know, we do take into account, you know, some difficult weather, but for the most part, these schedules are extremely aggressive and tight, and we're working through just about any condition.
Dave, two things, if you don't mind. As an engineer, I think if you could make that pitch with the technology and the prefab and the design, that makes it cool for kids. So that's wonderful to see. Second thing, can you talk a little bit about safety on the site?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. With the number of people that will be on this job site and the kind of publicity that this job gets, we have a focus that we call zero injuries. And we started this journey about 15 years ago with a philosophy and a culture that says no one should get hurt on a job site. And that was a little counterintuitive because you'd look at a construction site and say, well, it's just risky. People are going to get hurt. You just need to minimize how badly they get hurt. But that absolutely is a thought process that we try and eliminate. The first day everybody comes on the job site, they go through a 2-hour orientation. We do a significant amount of training because our goal is to get through this job without a single recordable incident where somebody would have to leave the site to have a stitch or see a doctor. And that's a really high bar, but it's something that we are absolutely 100% committed to. We actually, in Minnesota in 2013, across 43 projects, worked an entire 12-month period without a single recordable incident. So, thank you. Yeah, Ann.
I was impressed last year when your team was building the Center for Science and Research that your team was out doing calisthenics, stretches, and yoga on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about those practices that ensure safety?
Yeah, so in addition to the orientation, we stretch every morning and after every lunch. And while that's a way to get everybody's muscles limbered up, it's also a way to build teamwork and for us to share what's happening on the site and to refocus everybody on the safety focus that they need to have in the next 2, 3, and 4 hours. Persistence, I think. Actually, we were, the Timberwolves owner did not select us initially. They selected one of our competitors, and they couldn't come to contract terms, and we just kept knocking on the door. And then one day that door opened, and it's launched us into this marvelous business. Our philosophy is we'll go anywhere with a customer. And so we've at times had offices in the UK and Ireland, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Tokyo, Japan. And our focus in China has always been to serve our US customer base. We've built the main stadium at the Shanghai World Expo with AEG and the NBA. As their owner's rep, and have projects with everybody from Disney to Omnivision to R&D and MedTech customers. Joe.
Working around the world, and this would be working in Minneapolis, where you know the community, part of the community, you know the business practices. When you're working around the world, are the business practices different? Is that one of the challenges?
So the question is what's it like working around the world where you don't know the business practices, the culture, or the community? And it's frankly one of the reasons that our international philosophy is to do work with our customers, because I can tell you the value system in Brazil and China is not the same as it is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Especially in the construction industry, corruption is rampant. And if you don't have a partner and a customer who has exactly the same philosophies you do and is going to back you up when you say, this is how we operate and this is how we are going to do things, you're not going to be successful. But it is a huge challenge in places where they don't have the fundamental philosophies and cultures that we have here. One more and then we're probably done.
Your family is very much involved with what it says up top, community participation. Your father's active, your wife's active, your family's active in building the whole community. You might want to just say a word or two about how this family philosophy has played such a large role in your success.
So how does family and our philosophy of community engagement play a role in our success? When you go back to our values, stewardship and service are key components of who we are. We've been committed to giving 5% of our net pre-tax profits back into the communities where we work from the very beginning. We find that we succeed when the community around us succeed, and it's part of our obligation to the blessings that have been bestowed upon us as an organization to be able to participate and give back. It's just part of who we are, and I actually frankly think it's a part of the Minnesota culture that doesn't even replicate itself in other parts of North America.
Say, I get to ask the last question. If you were given an opportunity to build the Washington Monument without any mortar, would you take on the project?
The Washington Monument without any mortar. Well, we always have this penchant to do things that look almost impossible. So I would say absolutely yes. I'd probably need to talk to my insurance broker, but
Pretty great. David,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Woody.
This is the first time, I think, in a group like this where the speakers actually ask folks to bring out their cell phones as opposed to asking them to. Say a little bit of Blake lore comes to mind when I stand here, and I think Charlie Seal can probably verify this. But when I was a kid, there were senior speeches here in what we call the chapel, and the faculty also had to give their speech. The last time that we had someone involved in the construction industry at this podium, I think was our shop teacher, Fran Johnson. And he got up here and looked out at all of the kids and absolutely did a standing pass and fell flat back. Chief Munson, as many of you remember, had hands about this big. He was sitting in the chair behind him and caught Fran's head as he fell down. So whether or not it's true or not, it's urban legend in my era, and Charlie's nodding, and it's true. So anyway, this is great. It's been a great year. It's been a great day, a great morning. Stick around and talk to David, and come back in September when we have a fabulous twosome for alumni of the year. It'll be a surprise. It'll be terrific. And I also want to just thank David officially with your Blake tie, which Becky